This is an interesting stat. Chad Henne reached the AFC Championship in 6 straight seasons to end his career. Between the Jags and the Chiefs, he got drafted out of Michigan, so he's a Michigan man, and he is joining us now live. There's so many things to talk about. You know, you were there. You went to Kansas City, and I believe it was Mahomes' second year. So, you know, you got in there very early on Patrick Mahomes. So let's start with that, because they're kind of scuffing right now. They've got, you know, young receivers. They're learning on the job. Did you know, I mean, Mahomes, there was a lot of talk about him, but by the time you got there, I think he'd only started a game, the last game of his first year. Did you know instantly, first practice, okay, this is totally different? Or did it take a while for it to bake on Mahomes?
I think it took a while just to bake, but, you know, obviously his physical features and then getting to know his detail-oriented, what he does off the field, his note-taking really just stepped in, and I was like, okay, this guy really wants it. He has all the intangibles, and then you got a Hall of Fame coach in Coach Reid to help coach him through this process as well.
Chad, people tend to think, and maybe I'm guilty of this, oh, you got a great quarterback. There's just total harmony in the building. But Andy's demanding. In that second year, third year, you're around him. Were there times, because I think Mahomes is so gifted, he can go off the fairway sometimes, and just mechanics, he's doing his stuff. Was it fun for you to watch the process of it, and was it bumpy at times?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I think every time you have success, especially earlier on in your career, we went to the AFC Championship with Patrick. He has 50-some touchdowns, and it's like, we want more, we want more. And that sometimes, yeah, we can do more, but let's do what we're good at as well and kind of stay on that page and not really overload a young quarterback in that way. And the best thing with Coach Reid at times was that he always communicated, whether it be Patrick, me, Eric Bieniemy, anybody in that room, Mike Kafka, and it's always an open book for everybody to have communication. And I think that's what helped and allowed us to be so successful early on.
Are you surprised at Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift and Mahomes is on 40 commercials? I mean, seriously, you know, when the Patriots had their dynasty, Chad, I mean, Tom didn't do commercials until like year 10. These guys have Andy Reid's on 5 commercials. And Kansas City is, you talked about it. It's a cul-de-sac, regular dads, nice town, good people. Are you surprised how big it's gotten?
Yeah, I mean, it's a small market. I mean, I came from Miami, obviously a bigger market, and then went to Jacksonville, another small market, but it's a different era. I mean, we all see it. Social media, the media itself is expanding. And, you know, you can network yourself every which way. The NIL deals in college and, you know, get all while you can before you retire and gobble it up and become, you know, a superstar if you want to.
So they're struggling a bit this year, and I think a lot of it's youth at receiver. Do you kind of think they'll get it together, or is it just one of those kind of skip years where you retool? You know, you're not going to win 9 straight Super Bowls. When you watch the Chiefs, because I know you do still monitor and watch them, even though you live out east, do you think they get it together, or do you think it's kind of a lost year where they're just not ready to the synapses are not all clicking?
No, I think they're too good. I mean, you have Andy Reid. He's not going to give up. And obviously Patrick and Kelce, the defense has done extremely well with Spags. And I think they're only going to get better as well. You get Nick Bolton back on defense. That will help in the run game, which they kind of have struggled in the last couple of weeks. But I believe they're going to get it right. I mean, those young receivers are going to know where to be. They're going to put in different packages each and every game that exploit the best in that player. And they're not going to put them in bad situations. So Coach Reid's going to handle it. Obviously, Patrick just has to, you know, continue to trust the guys down the field, push the ball down the field, which we always know that he's going to do. But they're going to connect in these next couple of weeks and hopefully make a run.
So, you know, you were a great high schooler. You went to Michigan, a great program. You go to Miami, and things probably don't work out perfectly. But so much of this sport for quarterbacks is, where do you land? Do you get the right coach? Do you get a good offensive line? So at the end of your career, you got to legendary places. Early in your career, there's a lot of bumps. So we've had this big discussion on the show, and I've said, I like Brock Purdy, but he was like a 3-star recruit. You know, he goes to Iowa State. I said, some of this is Shanahan, Debo, McCaffrey. When you watch Purdy, he's not as big as you. He's not a second-round pick. He didn't go to Michigan. Do you think it's environment, or do you see things, Chad? Because you could spin it. Do you see things and go, oh, this is like Kurt Warner. Nobody drafted him, and he's great.
Yeah, I think it's both. I mean, I think it's part of the environment. Obviously, he's in a great system with Shanahan where, the zone scheme, the outside zone, everything's based on that zone scheme and the run scheme. And then Brock Purdy makes it create outside of it. And let it be like in an NFL game, coaches ask you to make 5 or 6 throws that are not normally made by everybody. And if you can make those 5 or 6 throws and be consistent in the throws that they ask you, whether it be screen, quick game, intermediate, and you can be consistent in that and make the 5 to 6 throws, which Brock Purdy has done, you're going to be very successful. And you add on top of the talent that they have, it's a special situation. And I'm happy for them. You always dream of going to those situations as a quarterback young, and he's in that situation. I think he's taken advantage of it.
So I saw where you had been offered it's nothing against the Jets, but it's been a chaotic franchise. Cleveland's been a chaotic franchise. And I'm always saying on the air, I'm preaching, Chad, be careful about firing your coach, because people are not going to move their families cross country to Carolina now if you're bailing on a coach at Thanksgiving. Be very careful about firing everybody. Try to solve stuff in the building. So Carolina now is getting the stories out there like coaches are warning Ben Johnson for Detroit, stay away. So you had a chance to go to the Jets. It's not a winning culture. Aaron gets hurt. In the end, you're very great kids, great family. If that would have been a winning culture, would you consider coming back instead of saying no to the Jets?
Possibly. I don't think it's not a winning culture. I mean, I know Robert Saleh, obviously Nathaniel Hackett, most of the coaching staff was with me in Jacksonville. So the biggest thing is that Zach Wilson has not been a part of that system. So speaking with Nathaniel throughout the process, Aaron Rodgers knows obviously the system in and out. So whether it be audibling, saying, hey, we have like inside routes here, the play is called inside routes, but they have inside leverage, let's break it out to an outside route. So Aaron had that ability to audible and create different plays outside of that system. Zach Wilson's not there yet. He's a young quarterback. He has talent, but he's not there mentally. And, he just doesn't have a lot of experience yet. So it's hard to say, would I be happy there? I just didn't feel that was the right situation. You see Aaron Rodgers go down. The offensive line doesn't look great.
No.
I'll be away from my family. There's just a lot of factors. And I knew I didn't train like I normally do to get ready for the season. So I would take a couple weeks, get my arm at least ready. And then I'd probably be thrown in there. The Jets fans, they're going to be cheering Henne, just like when I was a starting quarterback, they were cheering the other backup quarterback. So, it would have been a tough situation. And I just didn't feel it was right for me at the time.
You could argue backup quarterback, not as lucrative, but it's one of the great jobs in the NFL where Mondays you actually feel okay when you wake up and you're not in the ice tub all game. When you go back, you had a lot of winning years, 6 straight years in the AFC Championship. And I remember you getting called on, I think it was against Cleveland or somebody, you had to make a big throw at the end of the game, and you made it, you moved out to your right. Did you have a favorite year in the NFL in those last 6 where you were part of something, but you weren't driving it? Was there a year or a team that you just loved?
Yeah, I think it was, you go back to last year in our Super Bowl run. Obviously, I had to step in with Patrick's ankle injury against the Jacksonville Jaguars, lead them to that drive. I didn't get to play a lot during the season because the games were a lot tighter than normal. And that's due to us having success, that your schedule gets ramped up each and every year, so the games are a lot closer. But at the same time, I always prided myself in, preparing like I was always the starter. So that always helped me and continued my career. And, it showed later on in my career that I could still do it and I could still help our team move on.
Finally, I've taken a lot of heat because I've supported Jim Harbaugh through all the turbulence. And the way I look at Jim, as I classify him, and many people have said this, I'm not the first, that he's a disruptor. He's Uber to taxis. He was taking trips to Rome. He had camps down in the South. Jim has been a headache for the sport, but he's been great for Michigan. And I think when you have the power to be a disruptor, you should. because few have the power to make change. It doesn't matter if it's the late Steve Jobs at Apple or Harbaugh. It was Chip Kelly that came into college football, no huddles. It's important for the evolution of all business. So I will support Harbaugh, even though he can drive people crazy. As a Michigan guy, have you always been a Harbaugh guy? Do you understand the criticisms? Where do you land on the current Jim Harbaugh and the discussion around him?
Well, I think everything in the beginning, not that I wasn't a fan, I just didn't know him. I only met him a couple times personally. And then as he got the players that he wanted, the coaches that he wanted, he's been the most successful coach in the last couple of years. So you can't fault him for that. And like you said, he goes outside the book, which is perfectly fine. Coach Reid asked janitors for plays. So what else can you do? I mean, you can literally do what you want in that position as long as you win. Winning's a powerful thing. And Jim has been able to do that. And I think he's done a phenomenal job. And his coaching staff has done a great job, because when he wasn't there for 6 games this year, they're still winning football games.
Yeah, that was my takeaway, Chad, that if you can win 6 games without your head coach, you're not only a good team, you're a good business. That's what it felt like. I mean, if a CEO leaves a company for 6 months and the earnings go up, you're not reliant on. I mean, do you think he was texting coaches? I don't even know if you could do. Were you surprised by that? They were that good without him on the sidelines.
Absolutely. But then at the same time, just like you're saying, if you're in that position, you have that power, you still have to allow your people underneath you work and let them fail, let them succeed. And I think he has done that throughout his career. And that's why his coaches are so good and not as reliant on him as most coaches are.
Chad Henne, good seeing you. Congrats to your young family. And he'll pick up the phone from time to time next couple of years. Maybe we'll see him again. It's good seeing you.
Yep. Thank you. Thanks for having me.
All right. Chad Henne, Michigan guy, 2 Super Bowl championships. Hi, everybody. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from The Herd, or go watch a few segments from other shows on FS1.